Shalom, 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 Yasha Allah. This your boy, Brother Shamuel Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called, But War Was in His Heart. But war was in his heart. All right, first and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa, Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called, But War Was in His Heart. All right, but war was in his heart. All right, this is from CBS News. And you know, you've heard about the peace treaties and talks. All right, but it says Netanyahu says he's giving peace a chance, but voices long-term doubts. All right, but voices long-term doubts. All right. It says Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met CBS Mornings co-host Tony Dokapul. It says late Tuesday at the Rabin Medical Center just outside Tel Aviv, where the Israeli leader and his wife Sarah visited newly returned hostages and their families on their full day back together. It says each of the former hostages described their experience in the captivity to the prime minister, detailing long hours held underground with limited access to sunlight and scarce food. Let's skip down. Let's see. Says now the overriding question is whether this moment of hope for Israel and the region can last. Israel is giving peace a chance, but the war is not over. So President Nero has asserted repeatedly since helping to broker the ceasefire and hostages release agreement that took effect on Friday that the war is over, but it clearly is not. All right. It says Israeli troops are still deployed in more than half of Gaza and in the rest of the decimated Palestinian territory. CBS News team in Gaza has seen Hamas back on the streets, still armed and reportedly confronting rival groups once again, exerting its power. Asked about those retaliaties, Netanyahu told CBS News that his government had agreed to give peace a chance. He noted that the conditions of Mr. Nero's 20-point peace plan are very clear, and it's not only that we would get hostages out without getting our military out, but that we would subsequently have both demilitarization and disarmament. They're not the same thing. First, Hamas has to give up its arms, and second, they want to make sure that there are no weapon factories inside Gaza. There's no smuggling of weapons into Gaza. All right. So it says we also agreed, okay, let's get the first part done. Now let's give a chance to do the second part peacefully, which is my hope. All right. It says Netanyahu in his wide-ranging interview said always that the responsibility of a leader of the Jewish state is to make sure that the Jewish state is never imperiled with its very existence. Let's see. I'm just trying to just get to some of the meat, but basically he could tell he's skeptical about peace. All right, his war is in his heart. So it says I think so. The Israeli leader said, I'm sorry. So Dokapul asked Netanyahu whether it would be possible to fix such perceptions and how. He said, I think the first fix is to finish the war as speedily as possible, something that I sought to do against all this contrarian propaganda. Of course, I want to end the war. Who wants it to continue? You know, I've been to war myself. I've been in battles. You have to be crazy to want wars to prolong. Let's see. There are many challenging meetings. Even the initial goal, as Hamas has thus far refused to completely disarm the remains of their disarm the remains of at least 20 deceased Israeli hostages have yet to be returned. And Israel said Wednesday that it would limit the amount of humanitarian aid entering Gaza, holding up key aspects of the first phase of Mr. Nero's peace deal. All right. So as you see, I mean, you know, they're all skeptical, but we understand what the scriptures say, right? And I was looking for an article, you know, where your boy, you know, Nero was basically saying that there wasn't going to be a World War III, and we know that that's not the case. All right, the scriptures tell us, right? And listen, this book cannot lie. All right, but what I wanted to get, you know, he said that, you know, we want peace, but we understand. All right, so I want to just get just a couple of scriptures, and I'm gonna close it out. I don't want to make this too long. But you know, that's their thing, man. You know, they want war. You know, they thrive off of it, and they're gonna find an excuse to, you know, to continue on in it. Okay. Let's get this. Let's go to well, first off, let's go to Revelations 11 and 14. And it reads, it says the second woe is past, right? The woe representing World War, right? So the second World War has passed, and behold, the third woe or World War cometh quickly, okay? So we understand the scriptures say that there's going to be a World War III, all right? Regardless of what they say, right? They could say peace right now, but we understand, right? Let's get that. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay? So they're going to say peace and safety. They're going to say, you know, peace treaty, this, that, and the other, right? There's not going to be a World War III, but we understand that there is. All right? They're going to say peace and safety, and that's when sudden destruction shall come. All right? Another one, you know, we understand, you know, who you're dealing with, man. All right. You know, they'll set up peace treaties and do these different things. But ultimately, we understand that their war, you know, war is always in their heart and always in their mind. All right. It says Psalm chapter 55, verse 20. He had put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant, right? And they always do. They had one before, all right? And then immediately, even once they said it was peace or something, you know, they had a little ceasefire. I forgot who it was. It might have been Iran or somebody. What were they doing? They were still shooting at each other, man. You know what I mean? So it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart, man. War is ultimately in his heart, all right? So he could say peace and safety, right? Like he said, well, you know, it could be, you know, but he's not long term, you know, hey, they want war, okay? You know, he said he's giving peace a chance, but voices long term doubts, all right? Because he wants war, all right? It says the words in his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords, right? And that's what you're dealing with, man. All right. And the scriptures tell you that the least of the flock, all right, which is, you know, the 1948ers over there, is going to draw them out. Who's going to draw Babylon out? To what? To the third woe. Okay. Let's get that. Jeremiah 50, and I believe it's 45. All right. So this is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 45. It says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, that he have taken against Babylon," right, America, all right, "and his purpose that he have purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out." Okay? Because the only people, really, when you think Babylon's the only ally, all right, that the 1948ers have, all right? And guess what? So the 1948ers, they're going, like I said, they don't want peace, all right? They want war. and they're going to draw Babylon, right, a.k.a. America, into the third woe, okay? So it says, "Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them." All right, because the two places, two of the places that are going to get, utterly destroyed, right, is going to be Babylon, of course. All right, this, the scriptures, talk all about the desolation of Babylon. Okay, John the Revelator saw it as a lake of fire because there were so many ICBM missiles with the nuclear warheads hitting this place, as well as Yahawashi and the angels. All right, burning this place on fire, man. All right. It says, and then Salaki, and then Israel, right, in that area, right, that's going to be totally destroyed, but at the end, it's going to be rebuilt. All right, unlike Babylon, which is going to be left desolate. All right, that place is going to be built back up. All right, but the land has to be cleansed, and that land has to be is going to be cleansed by that fire. All right, fire is a purifier. Okay, so understanding, hey, the least of the flock is going to draw them out, and they're both going to get destroyed. All right, but unlike Babylon, right, which is going to be completely destroyed and it's not going to be inhabited by men. You can read, Jeremiah 49 or 50 and 51, and it talks about that. All right. So it says, "At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved." All right, because of the impact of those nuclear warheads that are going to hit this place, and the cry is heard among the nations. All right, it says the earth is going to rock to and fro like a drunkard. Right, that's the power that's going to happen. All right, when those ICBM missiles are shot off in the third woe. Okay, so the third woe is definitely going to happen. All right, they're gonna, like he said, peace is not going to be peace. All right, they said peace and safety, but sudden destruction shall cometh. All right, so understand, we understand what the scriptures say, and we understand that this is a book of prophecies, and that's to say something before it happens. So we understand that it's going to happen, right? If it's written in here, it's going to come to pass. Okay, so understand that. All right, Trump can say what he want to say, and Netanyahu, they can all say what they want, but the scriptures will tell you the truth. All right, so I just want to do this quick lesson. Lord's will, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash, peace and blessings to the elect, the 12 tribes scattered abroad, a mighty shalom to the 144,000. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well to the spirit. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect and the household of faith out there. Stay diligent, stay focused, keep praying for one another. Understand, all right, hey, when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction shall come upon them, all right, and you're dealing, all right, with the wicked, and guess what, war is in his heart, man, all right, war is in their heart, all right, and with that, we say a ball, and shalom.